When I started my sustainable marketplace 4 years ago, I got a lot of backlash online. People would comment things like, real sustainability is not buying eco-friendly products, is not buying anything at all. And I remember thinking, okay, let's test that. Let's see how far I can actually take it. So I went into full frugal mode. No skincare, no clothes, no shoes, no accessories, no makeup. I literally decided to use up every single thing I already had and not buy anything new. And I didn't do it for months or even a year. I did it for 3 years straight, from May 2021 until May 2024. At first, it almost felt exciting, like a challenge. Could I actually live without buying anything? Could I prove that I didn't need to consume to survive? But pretty quickly, I realized this was going to be one of the hardest things I had ever done, not because I missed shopping that much, but because of what it revealed about how deeply shopping, self-worth, and identity are tied together in our culture. So in this video, I want to take you through that journey. What I actually cut out, the practical and emotional struggles I went through, what I learned about sustainability, and how it completely reshaped the way I think about shopping today. Because here's the truth, living frugal taught me that sustainability is not about depriving yourself or living like a cave person. It's about building a healthy relationship with consumption. One where your self-worth doesn't come from what you buy, but your purchases still reflect the person you want to be. Let me break down the actual rules of this frugal experiment. When I say I didn't buy anything, I mean it. I wasn't just cutting back, I literally stopped consuming in almost every category of my life. No new clothes, no shoes, no accessories, no makeup, no skincare, no home decor, not even small things like candles or notebooks. The only things I allowed myself to buy were groceries, and absolute essentials for survival, like if my laptop broke, I would replace it because I needed it to work, but outside of that, nothing. Even my hygiene products were stripped back. I used soap bars instead of cleansers and shower gels, shampoo bars instead of liquid shampoos, lotion bars instead of body creams. I wanted to see if I could cut out packaging, cut out extra steps, and just get by with the bare minimum. And for context, I'm tall. I wear a size 40 shoe, and during that time I had gained about 15 kilos from the stress of building my business. So finding anything secondhand that actually fit me was almost impossible. I didn't even thrift. That made this experiment even more extreme, because usually people can lean on secondhand as their sustainable option. For me, that was not working. So for 3 years, I lived with what I already had. I wore the same shoes until they literally fell apart. I finished every last drop of every serum or lipstick I owned. I repaired what I could, and when something ran out, I just went without. And this wasn't about saving money. Of course, I did spend less, but the deeper reason was that I wanted to see what was left of me when I took shopping completely off the table. Who was I without the constant distraction, that quick dopamine hit, that ability to buy something to feel better? And let me tell you, the rules were simple, but living by them was brutal. Because it's one thing to say I don't need stuff, it's another to actually live day after day with the reality of not replacing anything. That's when the experiment started to test me in ways didn't expect. At the beginning, I thought this experiment would just test my discipline. Like, could I resist temptation? Could I stay frugal when everyone else was shopping? But what I didn't realize was how emotional I would get. The hardest part was not skipping a Zara sale or saying no to Sephora. It was all the small everyday moments where not buying meant facing myself. Take social life, for example. Normally, if you're going out with friends, you might buy a new top or some makeup before. It's part of the ritual. You want to feel fresh, you want to feel like you belong in the group. For me, that option was gone. I had to show up in the same clothes I already owned, even if they didn't feel new, even if they didn't feel flattering, and that did something to my confidence. I felt exposed. Like people could see that I wasn't keeping up. Then there was body image. During this time, I gained over 15 kilos, and gaining weight is hard enough when you can buy clothes that fit your new size. But when you can't buy anything, you are forcing yourself into pieces that no longer fit, or you're recycling the same few items that still do. Every morning became a reminder that my body had changed and I didn't have the option to hide it with new clothes. That was brutal. And then there was the creativity piece. Shopping often gives you a feeling of expression, like you can reinvent yourself with a new dress or a new shade of lipstick. Without that outlet, I felt like part of my creativity just shut down. I had to find new ways to express myself that didn't involve a purchase. Sometimes it worked, like journaling, creating content, exploring ideas, but other times it just felt like a void. And of course, there was the pride. Every time I stuck to the experiment, there was this feeling of I'm doing something extreme that most people couldn't do. That gave me a sense of strength. But pride has a flip side because there were days I just felt tired of it all. Tired of not being able to replace things, tired of not feeling put together, tired of constantly explaining myself to people. I learned something important in those years. We don't realize how much shopping is tied to our emotions until it's gone. It's not just about having things, it's about soothing boredom, masking insecurities, keeping up socially, distracting from hard feelings. And when you remove that outlet, you're forced to face all of it, raw. And that was the real roller coaster. Now let's talk about the practical side of the experiment. As people love to say, just use what you already have. Okay, in theory, it sounds great, but in reality, it's not that simple. First, body changes. During those years, my body changed a lot. I gained weight from the stress of building my business, and suddenly half my wardrobe didn't fit anymore. Normally, you just buy a few new pieces that suit your size and move on. But because of my experiment, I had no backup plan. I was either squeezing into things that didn't fit or rotating the same 2 or 3 items that still worked. And let me tell you, nothing destroys your confidence faster than starting every morning with the reminder that your clothes don't fit your body anymore. Second, thrifting didn't help. People always say, well, you can just thrift. I'm tall. I have size 40 shoes. At the time, I wasn't a sample size. So thrifting wasn't magical for me. I couldn't just walk into a secondhand store and find what I needed. And that's the reality for a lot of women who don't fit into the average size. Secondhand options are limited. Third, repairs and reusing. I wore shoes until the soles literally came off. I stitched clothes, I tried to make things last, but some things just can't be repaired forever. At a certain point, they break down. And unless you want to live with holes in your shoes or sweaters, there is only so much you can stretch it. Fourth, skincare and beauty. I used up everything I had down to the last drop. But once something ran out, it was gone. I went without makeup, without proper skincare, without replacements. At first, it felt liberating, but after a while, it felt like neglect. Like I wasn't even allowed to take care of myself. And finally, the clash with my work. I was running a sustainable marketplace, surrounded by ethical brands, curating beautiful products, and yet I wasn't buying or trying any of them. It felt strange, almost hypocritical. Building a business around helping people shop better while I personally wasn't shopping at all, it created this constant tension between the world I was working in and the life I was forcing myself to live. So the reality was, this wasn't glamorous minimalism. This wasn't some Instagram aesthetic of clean closets and capsule wardrobes. This was frustration. This was lack. This was daily reminders that living without buying in today's world is not just unrealistic, it can even become unhealthy. And that's when I started realizing that maybe the people online were wrong. Maybe true sustainability isn't about cutting yourself off completely. Maybe it's about something else entirely. So after 3 years of living frugal, here is the biggest thing I learned. Not buying anything is not the answer. It sounds noble, it looks good on social media, but in practice, it's almost impossible. And honestly, it's not even sustainable in the true sense of the word. Because sustainability is not just about the environment. It's also about your mental health, your body, your lifestyle, your physical health. If your approach to sustainability makes you miserable, if it isolates you, if it leaves you walking around in broken shoes or clothes that don't fit your body, that's not sustainable. That's deprivation. And yet this idea gets pushed on us all the time. The guilt messaging. If you really cared about the planet, you wouldn't buy anything. If you were serious about sustainability, you'd give up fashion altogether. But that's not realistic for most people. And it creates a false binary. Either you're a saint who never buys, or you're a villain who destroys the planet with every purchase. That mindset doesn't help anyone. The real problem is not that we buy, it's how and why we buy. Fast fashion thrives on overconsumption, on hauls, on impulse, on the idea that you need 10 new outfits every week to feel relevant. Luxury thrives on insecurity, convincing people that logos equal status, even if it keeps them broke. But ethical fashion, conscious consumption, that's about balance. Buy less but buy better. Choose pieces that last. Choose brands that respect workers and the planet. Build a wardrobe that reflects who you are, not who the algorithm says you should be. And I want to make something clear. Ethical fashion today doesn't look like it did 10 years ago. Back then, sustainable clothes had this stereotype of being shapeless, beige, or like you lived in the woods. But now, it's chic. It's stylish. You can literally recreate a Zara or Dior look from ethical brands, and sometimes it even looks better. So the lesson wasn't never buy again. The lesson was buy with intention, buy with respect, buy things that support your future self, not your insecurities. And that shift changed everything for me because I stopped seeing sustainability as punishment and started seeing it as empowerment. One thing I didn't expect from this experiment was how much it would change my sense of identity. When you strip away shopping for 3 years, you also strip away one of the easiest ways to express yourself. No new clothes, no new makeup, no accessories to reinvent yourself with. You're left with you. And for me, that was uncomfortable because it forced me to ask, who am I without the performance? Who am I if I'm not defined by what I buy or what I wear or how I look? There were moments where I felt invisible, like I couldn't signal to the world who I was becoming. I couldn't dress the part of the businesswoman or the stylish woman or even the woman who had her life together. All I had was the same clothes, the same basics, the same face without new products to boost it. Over time, I realized how much of my identity had been wrapped up in consumption. And when that was gone, I had to build my worth on something else. I had to find confidence in my work, not my outfit. I had to find value in my ideas, not my bag. I had to own rooms with my voice, not my shoes. And that was painful at first, but also powerful. Because when your identity is no longer tied to what you own, you become harder to shake. I also realized how much of shopping was about chasing versions of myself that didn't even exist yet. Clothes for the future skinny me, shoes for the future successful me, makeup for the future confident me. When I cut all that crap, I had to sit with the present me. The me who was building, struggling, gaining weight, figuring it out, and I had to make peace with her. That's when it clicked for me. True sustainability is not just about consuming less. It's about building an identity that doesn't collapse when you consume nothing. That's the biggest glow up you can have. When your sense of self isn't hanging on a dress or a brand or whether you have the latest product, you stick to a trend, but on the work you're doing, the person you're becoming, and the energy you carry into the room. So after 3 years of living in full frugal mode, the big question is, what do I do differently now? Because no, I didn't go back to impulse shopping. I didn't swing to the other extreme and start buying everything I had missed out on. What I did was rebuild a new relationship with consumption. Here are the rules I live by today. Rule 1. Buy less, buy better. I don't need 10 new things to feel alive. I'd rather invest in one piece that actually lasts, that feels like me, and that I will wear again and again. Rule number 2. No panic buys. I stopped using shopping as a coping mechanism. If I feel anxious or bored, I deal with the feeling instead of covering it up with a cart. Shopping is no longer my escape button. Rule number 3. My clothes have to match the life I'm living now, not the future. I don't buy clothes for the future version of me who's 10 kilos lighter or who goes to galas every week. I buy for the woman I am today, who is building, who's working, who's moving through real life and real struggles. And out of all these lessons, I realized something bigger. If I struggled this much, if I had to go through 3 years of extremes just to figure this out, then other women are struggling with it too. That's why I built Swiss Impact Store the way I did. At first, it was a sustainable marketplace, a way to make ethical brands more accessible. But over time, I saw that people didn't just need products. They needed guidance. They needed someone to help them see through the noise, detach from old patterns, and rebuild their style with intention. That's why I created my private shopping club. It's not about hauls. It's not about trends. It's about helping women align their wardrobe with their identity, their goals, and their self-worth. It's about saying, yes, you can shop, but let's do it in a way that actually supports the woman you are becoming. Because the answer is not never shop. The answer is shop differently. Shop with respect. Shop in a way that empowers you instead of empties you. And that shift has completely changed how I move through the world. So here's the biggest lesson I took from 3 years of living frugal. Sustainability is not about deprivation, it's about alignment. We live in a modern world. You can't opt out of buying things forever. You can't patch up the same shoes forever. You can't live off bar soap and old t-shirts forever. And you shouldn't have to. The point of sustainability is not to punish yourself. It's to build a life that respects both you and the planet. And you can't respect the planet if you don't respect yourself first. What I learned is this: the answer was never to stop buying. The answer was to stop buying blindly. To stop buying out of boredom, anxiety, or shame. To stop outsourcing my self-worth to packages arriving at my door. Now I buy with intention. I choose better, I support brands that actually care, and I focus on creating a wardrobe that reflects the woman I am becoming, not the woman an algorithm says I should be. And that's the shift I want you to walk away with. Because your glow up is not about owning nothing. Your glow up is about owning less and what actually reflects you. Not polyester holes, not logos meant to impress people you don't even like, but clothes, objects, and choices that feel aligned with your self-worth and your goals. Next time you feel that urge to buy something, ask yourself, am I buying this because it reflects me or because I want it to fix me? And that's the difference. That's what changes everything.